think of.
Yeah.
And we don't want to have the same ones every,
Yeah, autumn color, you know, winter flowers.
So, although Ellen's come up with some good ones,
Yeah,
I must say.
I would appreciate some
Yeah,
out of somebody else's.
so feel free to send her an email or text or whatever.
Or a
The,
scrap of paper tonight.
yeah. The link to the membership roster is in the newsletter under members. Okay,
And then who's in charge of bringing people in to demonstrate? Is that Rona?
Yeah.
Sure.
Right now it is.
So if I know a couple people that might want to do it.
Tell Rona.
She would be thrilled.
Yeah, she would love it,
That would make her happy.
She'd be
especially if you can recommend them.
delighted.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, good. I'm gonna get. Snack.
Okay, yeah, so help yourself to snacks and,
Okay, take a break.
I think everybody did.
Okay. So 5 minutes break.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's not
something- Okay, 5 minutes.
I told you. Patricia's saying it's there.
Oh, Ah, yes. Yeah, we're moving.
Even though I do.
I thought you guys are going to bring some of these from the gallery that you are moving, right?
What?
I thought you are moving, so I thought some piece.
Okay, everyone sit down. Eric's gonna start.
With my mouth full.
Okay, we'll give you a minute to eat.
Thank you.
Because I know you do the plain air stuff. Oh. In the fall.
One of the first questions I'm generally asked, how long have you been painting?
Too long.
Maybe as artists also get that question when you're showing your art. My painting experience started actually with a paint by number kit, oil kit, when I was probably 7 or 8 years old, maybe 9 or 10.
I think we all
It
did.
certainly wasn't, it was before preteen. I got bored with that because trying to paint in the same area that the number said and the color that it said just wasn't for me. So I set it aside. And I really didn't get back into painting until about 1997. And I took a watercolor class up in the mountains near Breckenridge. And I was painting a landscape. And there were a lot of trees and forests and everything, as you probably are aware. And I tried to paint every leaf on the tree. Once again, I got very frustrated with myself and knew that I did not want to paint that kind of art, do that kind of art. And definitely, it looks just like everybody else's paintings. It wasn't unique. It wasn't, I didn't have any identity at that point. It wasn't until I joined a plein air painting group in Cambria, California, that, and started painting every week, that I developed a new style. And it probably, I have to blame it on the Fauve artists of 1904 and 1908, led by Matisse. Andre Durain was actually the man that I followed. I happened to go to, I think, the LA County Art Museum. He had an exhibit. And also I bought a set of postcards, each one with a different painting from Andre Durain. And I saved those. Actually, that occurred long before I did this, was in Cambria. But it dawned on me, as I was doing my plein air painting with a group of artists, that there's somebody that I really thought was a style that I would like to emulate in ways. So I pulled out the postcards, took a look at them, put them back in. I still have them. I've used some, send them to friends and so on. But it led me to the kind of art that I'm producing now. And this is an example. I want to go and talk to you just a moment about the mechanics of the painting. One of the things that I visualize first is the horizon line. And I do only plein air, I don't do studio art. So if you are only into studio art, you don't deal a lot often with the horizon lines. We're having to decide about that. You're working from a photograph or some other medium. So you could have a theoretical horizon line up here, but one of the important things to do is not divide your painting in half. So you don't want to have half of it up here and half the other half down here. I always go up above or below that imaginary line. And also when I'm dealing with left and right, 1/3, 1/3, 1/4, 1/4. And that has to do a lot with balance, with where your focus is, your focal point. And does everybody know what a focal point is?
Yeah.
You're speaking to a group of artists, so we know
Okay.
these things.
Okay, well, you know,
There's
You
some
never
that-
know. Actually, I'm not positive. I thought it was so.
okay, we'll move on.
Okay.
This is an example of a cove over in, I think it's along the coast south of Half Moon Bay. I pick colors that I find interesting. I never know how the painting is going to end. I only know what color I'm going to start with at the beginning. And very often it's the sky or the foreground.
What medium are you?
This is gouache. I paint with gouache and watercolor.
It's kind of like a heavy water.
How do you know when you're done? You say you don't know.
That, you know, that's a good question. You have to sense it. And I just generally have a feeling of I've completed it. One of the things that the last step that I do is outlining the various areas. Sometimes I outline it in a deeper color from the color that I use in the area, and other times I just use the same outlining color all over the painting.
Eric, so that's a plein air. You went outside and.
That's correct. I paint on site.
Okay,
I don't paint from photographs.
then I have a question. Like when we go outside plein air painting, there, to me, like it's really like important where the sun comes and there is a shadow and everything. So how do you do that? You ignore the.
Well, the group that I paint with go out at 10 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Paint till 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
We stop at 1,
Okay.
regardless of where the sun is, regardless of whether there's no sun at all.
Okay.
A lot of people deal with shadows.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't. So I, create my vision of what the scene looks like. I simplify the objects. I create a much simpler composition. Here's an example. It has many elements to it. And here you can see a real visual horizon line. Okay. And I try to create balance in the paintings by having this area as strong as this. But I also have quiet areas in the painting as well.
that's beautiful.
There's one where very quiet up at the top. The top third. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay,
That's all right.
this is at Juliana Street in Half Moon Bay. That area's been built up a great deal the last couple of years. New houses where it used to be open land. But the trail's still there, as is all the rocks and lava and. Interesting, there's one spot where the water flows through the rocks themselves.
How many colors do you have in the top color?
I'm sorry?
How many colors do you have on the palette? Your palette?
About 24.
Oh, okay.
And I'll blend, but most of these, I just use it raw out of the tube. Upside down.
Out of two. Wow.
This is actually a bridge located near San Simeon, California. Very close to the entrance to the Hearst Castle grounds.
Do you title your pieces?
I'm sorry?
Do you title your pieces? Do they have a title?
Yeah.
Do you-
This is called the bridge. Yes, I generally do. I photograph them and I title them, I number them, and I post them to my website.
Show the camera.
Thank you.
You don't see anything.
I picked these colors. I don't know. I can't give you a real answer other than I like to have light against dark, complementary colors next to each other, so they bounce out at you. Okay.
You have to stay more in one place. That's okay. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice.
good idea.
This is a sand dune with vegetation on top, but probably as dramatic as the sand dune is the sky.
Oh, yeah.
And that pop of blue,
I'm sorry.
I like that pop of blue over here too.
Thank you. You always have to deal with the foreground. And generally my foregrounds are darker than the background. But once in a while, I'll put something dark in the background. I try to do, this isn't a good example, because usually if I have one color, I just don't have one area with with one color. I always have it in two different places generally. Close to the center line. I must have had a bad day.
You mentioned painting every morning. You do a entire painting in that one day?
Yeah. Yeah. And we do a show and tell at 1 o'clock. So if you're done, you're done. And some artists are not done, but they show anyhow.
Camera.
Here's an area that I let the colors bleed. I don't always do that. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I generally wet the paper in the area that I'm painting. I don't wet the whole paper at one time. And I tape the paper down. This is Arches 140 cold press. I tape it down on a foam core board that has acetate on it, so it's waterproof. My paintings just don't buckle.
What kind of board is it, foam board?
Yeah, foam core foam board, yeah. The craft stores sell it, big sheets. You
So
want to
why
get thick enough foam core that it won't buckle on you. So that's about at least a 1/4 inch, I think, in thickness. We all recognize this. When you have an object like that, that's really tall, you have to decide, are you going to do a painting this way or this way? Some of the times that I've painted there, it has been vertical. This one, I happened to be in my folder and I just left it there because I liked the composition.
Yeah.
And the fact that there was fog that day. And I represent, or I try to represent things the way I see it, the way I think it's going to help the painting as it develops.
I like the tree, so much waving.
Yeah, the wind.
That was really movement.
Yeah, thank you. And the sky just is there. You know, I could have made it very dramatic, but I thought the strength is here. I paint tree trunks different colors. Why? Well, sometimes it works to have all the tree trunks the same color. In my mind, I have to decide, do I want them to be the same or do I want them to be different? And I like the color. I like the strength of, you know, using different colors attracts the eye. Since you can't see the top of the trees, the trunks are the important part in this painting.
We have a question from one of the Zoomers.
Mhm.
Why did you select gouache?
Gouache is like an opaque watercolor. It is an opaque watercolor. This one is a watercolor. Gouache, you can actually paint over another color and it will cover.
So
You don't
somewhere
have
in
to-
between watercolor and acrylic.
I'm sorry?
Somewhere in between watercolor and acrylic, but it's water.
It's a water-based paint.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the tempera paint that as a kid
Mhm.
in school you used to use,
Yeah,
the same opacity.
yeah.
And of course, you know, I have some paintings that the gouache looks like watercolor because I thinned it out.
Yeah,
It's just the color that I was looking for to work there. And sometimes I'll use watercolor and gouache in the same painting because the colors work.
This, you can do a wash too with a wash.
Yeah. You can.
And you can breed both different colors in the mud.
It saves you from having to switch between different palettes.
Okay.
You know,
Wow.
having a wash palette here and a watercolor palette there, and saying, okay, I'm going to do a wash, so I'll use the watercolor. It's just easier for me to thin down the gouache and use that.
When you send down wash, does the color get paler like it does in watercolor?
That is an issue, even as it dries.
Uh-huh.
If you thin it down, yes. If you leave it, the consistency, generally it will dry pretty true to what you see when it's wet. Another yellow sky. A lot of different colors here. I've been accused of doing cartoon-like paintings. I've been accused of doing paintings that would be a great repeat in fabric design. And also I paint now and then. And I do not paint to make other people happy. I paint to make me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if people like it, that's great. I don't think that everybody understands or appreciates the kind of painting that I do, but that's fine. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and I probably won't change. I've gone to workshops, and one of the things that the teacher tries to do is get me to change, and I won't do that.
So do you identify yourself like a little bit like a Forbism artist or?
Yes,
So is there any group like that still now?
no,
Okay, okay.
no. But
Why,
there
why
are-
not?
You
Why?
know, I have seen art in this community
Mhm.
that are, I would say, is very full of life.
Mm.
I can't name the artist offhand. It's been a while, but there are people that are doing it.
Yeah, because I saw that something in Palo Alto Medical Foundation. Yeah, something like that too, yeah.
Get that?
I thought there is a group.
Eric, do you frame your work?
Only when I put them in a show.
Hmm.
And what kind of
Otherwise,
frame,
they just,
what kind of frame do you use?
well, generally a wood of some sort. I've used a few, very few metal frames. And the wood frames generally are black.
Mm.
And there, of course, I have a white mat generally.
Mm.
And sometimes the wood frame has a little border on it also, where it touches the mat. I don't spend a lot of money on my frames, and this is 11 by 14. It fits in a 16 by 20 mat. You can buy lots of different kinds of 16 by 20 frames.
You put glass over it?
You know, most of the frames come with glass already. Although the newer frames that I've purchased have acetate because it's lighter and it doesn't break. And a lot of shows are demanding that you do not put glass. It's just too heavy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay,
Mm.
how are we doing on time?
Do you have anything like your paintings very happy, portray a happy feeling? Do you have anything gloomy
I have
picture?
about 20 minutes left. Gloomy, yeah.
Gloomy
There's
kind of.
water, and then there's water.
Yeah, we can tell.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see blue water. This is the Palo Alto
Creek.
park up on Foothill. Off of,
Oh, Foothill
up above
Park?
Foothill.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what it's called. You know, it's a private park.
Yeah.
Now
Foothill
it's-
Park, yes, yeah, yeah. They have a lake, yeah.
So, you know, the rocks
Mm.
are black lava.
Mhm.
I didn't paint it that way. The bushes were these colors. The background was pretty much like that. Here I used a darker shade in the background as opposed to a lighter shade. It just seemed to me that it worked better because it was, the trees were darker in the background. Another way to deal with water.
Yeah, that's nice.
Now,
So this-
to get the blue lighter and lighter, did you just add more water to that paint?
Yeah.
Mm.
Or I just took my brush, got it really wet, and then just swiped it across the paint, spread it around, and then put it on the paper.
Can you do a demonstration for us? Bring our thing.
Well, not tonight.
No, not tonight, another time.
I've done that, yeah.
Well, I'm in a meeting that time. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Oh, that's
Okay?
nice going too.
Bye-bye.
Right now, the fields over near Half Moon Bay have a lot of mustard, wild mustard,
Oh, yeah, I love it.
and lavender.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Well, it did at the time that I painted this. I can't tell you
They
what's
bloom
there.
at different times.
You
of
know,
year.
I used to live over there.
Uh-huh.
It was easy for me to scout out the locations beforehand. Now, some people say, hey, the mustards are blooming, we ought to paint down the road there on Highway 1. Okay.
It might have been where they grow flowers,
Mm,
because to have them both in the spring, I mean, lavender's later in the
Yeah.
summer.
it could be. This actually is a farm with a big white barn.
Uh-huh.
It's before you get to Verde Road, which is on the left, this is on the right, Ocean side. As you can tell, there's water back there. A
Nice
little-
location for a farm.
This one is so unlike me. But
Oh.
it was to memorialize this boat that sat on the grass at Pillar Point Harbor for well over a year. And they finally got permission to scrap it. And another artist myself, decided we wanted to memorialize Irene. And I thought, well, where is Irene at? And of course, it's in the Pillar Point Harbor, so I overlaid the painting, the art,
Now.
the boat on top of the map.
Nice.
Oh, oh, yeah, I see.
That's cool.
This is called the King Shop in the island of Hawaii. It's north of the town of Kona. I just brought this in not because it's so exciting or anything, not real dramatic.
More detail to me.
Yeah, it has, you know, it is an example of putting detail in places that makes more interest in the painting. Also, it creates, I just wanted to show an architectural element.
That's a really neat tree.
Yeah, tree is really interesting.
And of course, the tree is pretty important. All the other things that, and as a plein air painter, you have to deal with and have to decide. How did I get so many colors into those rocks?
Wow,
That's great.
that's very really interesting. Yeah.
I just kept going. I didn't know when to stop.
Show the camera.
That's at Moss
Let's
Beach.
see, you gotta move over this way, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, you're looking up there. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Looking up there, but you know,
Yeah.
we're looking there to see that you have it so they can see it at home.
The people on Zoom.
No.
There's a little bit of repetition sometime in my art because we go back to the same painting location generally once a year.
This is
Looks
darker
like a
sky.
gloomier day.
Yeah, darker sky.
There's your gloomy.
Yeah, yeah.
It probably was a pretty dark sky.
Yeah,
As long as it's not raining, we're out there on a Wednesday morning.
has a different feel.
Yeah. And, you know, I look at the colors and where they are and having light against dark. To me, that's very important. Because it draws, the things that are in the foreground are brought forward, things that are in the background recede.
So that white is the paint or you leave it as a paper? The white part of the,
Oh, that's plain white. It's a
so
paper,
you,
it's a paper.
paper, okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
normally I try and not cover up the white
Okay.
of the
Okay.
paper.
Okay.
Where I want to, I don't leave much.
Mm.
It's just my style that I put a lot of paint on the paper.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of
Interesting.
times I use white gouache with watercolor when I want to put the white on last,
Okay.
because it's too hard to leave it.
And here's an example of that.
Yeah,
The boat mast,
oh, yeah.
it's white gouache.
Something happened. Oh, yeah. Yeah, great.
There
That's
we go.
good,
Yep,
very good.
right there.
Yeah.
You use wash on that one.
This is watercolor.
Oh, that's wash.
Except for the mess.
Oh.
the masks.
On the mast themselves.
Oh, I see.
Wash.
I see.
Because
On the little
I
boat.
painted that area and I knew that if I used white watercolor,
Yeah.
it would never cover.
Mm.
So I bought the white gouache.
Do you ever finish a painting at home? Or you always do it on
Infrequently,
site?
and it's very often it's just because I want to add something, not that it's not done.
Mhm.
But it's where I feel like I want to add another element or another color.
Mm.
Just to make it more interesting. Sometimes the last thing I end up doing is putting the tree trunks in.
Mm.
And once in a while,
Mhm.
they don't come out the way, once the paint starts to dry, it doesn't come out the way I like it, so I have to go back in later and intensify the color.
So you started from the sky, right?
No, but yes and no.
Mm.
I either started from the sky or down at the foreground.
Okay, interesting.
And when I'm working, I work dry, wet area to dry area, then a wet area, dry area, wet area, dry area. So I'm never right next to two wet areas where the paints can bleed. Even though I know my outlining will probably cover
Mhm.
the area, but, and once in a while, this is gouache.
Mm.
The water is very intense, all one color.
Mm.
I didn't modulate it to near the shore. I used white to sort of indicate waves breaking on the shore.
The mountain I like, the faraway mountain.
I'm sorry,
The mountain I like, the faraway one.
thank you. Another strong
Oh, that's
sky.
nice, yeah.
It's Title Valley. My titles are generally either have a little irony built into them, or they're just really simple words. This, I'm guessing is watercolor, but I could be wrong. It could be a mix, this could be gouache,
That looks like.
yeah,
Looks more
very
like
strong.
wash. That little pink right there.
Working with, you know, colors, warm, cool, green against red, complementaries. How many people have been to El Viso?
Oh, yeah, we went last
How many people have seen this building?
Yeah, we have a plein air group too,
Yeah,
in this area,
we went
so
there.
we've been there.
This is actually the old store and it's right next to the railroad tracks.
Mhm.
It might not be there now.
Yeah.
It was almost falling down.
Probably down by now.
Yeah.
They're doing more development there, like everywhere.
That must be why that one has a gloomier sky.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I would, very kind of subdued color.
This is an interesting composition because it's not exactly the way I usually paint trees, but I did this maybe because I was trying to emulate a pine tree that has a lot of branches with a lot of area that you can see through, but I didn't want to do it completely. I just sort of wanted to give the impression of that, as well as up here in the sky. Actually, there's no sky.
Oh, how
Well, there is a little sky actually over here,
Yeah.
but that is a tree.
Oh, okay. I see.
It's been a while since I painted this. This is gouache.
Hold it down just a little bit. I'll think about the camera, just down, lower a little bit.
Lower, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
Good. Thank you.
Where is this Redwood Grove? No?
I'm sorry?
Where is this place?
This is, it's near La Honda.
Okay.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a county park.
Okay.
It's something
Yeah.
County park, and there's a bridge there.
Yeah, okay.
They have nice bathroom facilities.
That's important, I
That's always
know.
important, yeah.
There's a redwood park further along that highway that we often go to because the redwoods are just so beautiful. And there's a lot of trails and a lot of areas where you can set up your paints. Mustard fields.
Yeah, yeah.
This is actually across the street from the airport
Sorry.
in Half Moon Bay. And one of the problems that farmers have is that the fields become so beautiful that people will stop and walk out into the mustard and stomp on it and even take their kids out there to photograph them. So it's getting more difficult to find safe places to paint.
Are those mustard fields a crop? Or-
Yes,
Oh, they are.
I call it mustard. It has a different name.
No, it's wild mustard,
Wild mustard.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They're not wheat fields.
I'm sure there's a,
No.
They do
Greek
grow
name,
different
too.
crops during the year. Most of these fields run 24 or 12 months a year with different crops.
some really organic kind of places actually do make mustard out of the wild mustard.
In this case, I went and talked to the owner and got permission for our group to paint there. Because it is, the road leads right to the farm buildings and they have a lot of people going back and forth on this road with trucks. That sort of thing. So you have to be careful sometimes. This is Moss Beach again. And here's the area with the water flowing through between the rocks.
Oh, clear the battery.
He's still plugging it in.
Oh, okay.
The battery is running low. My paintings are running low too.
Perfect timing. But kind
Oh
of speed
my
up the ending.